such a time as this.
And welcome to For Such a Time as This. I'm a little hot. There we go. Let me turn it down. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm a little hot. Should be good now for such a time as this. Roundtable 2020 in review, and I look forward to 2021. I have the familiar cast. Prof. Chris, Prof. Abby, Prof. Lisa Joy, and Prof. Mr. Eric. Here is the agenda for this morning. December 26th, day after Christmas. We're going to look back at 2020. The impeachment. Yes, the impeachment was this year. It was in January. The impeachment, COVID-19 then hit. Then the wonderful, honest, straightforward elections. And then we'll have the post-election reaction. Please let me know we're coming through loud and clear. Give me a thumbs up, because too many times we've gone 5 or 6 minutes and then it turns out we were not being heard. But it seems like everything is green on this end. Please give me a thumbs up in the chat. Someone please, to let us know that we are coming through. Again, that's the review, the impeachment, the COVID-19, the honest elections, and the post-election reaction. Then we're going to look forward to 2021. The runoff in Georgia, which is going to be January 5th. And then they're going to give them one full day. Thanks, Jack, running for endurance. We're coming through loud and clear. Then so January 5th is the Georgia election. They're going to give them a whopping 24 hours to count the votes, because you know it's real easy to count votes. They're going to give them 24 hours. Then looks like they're going to seat them on January 6th, because on January 6th they're going to certify the election, the honest election. They're going to certify that on January 6th. Then January 20th, I believe, we're going to sit a new president. A new administration begins, whether it's the second term of President Trump or the President Joe Biden, January 20th. Then we're going to talk about the virus in 2021. What are we to look forward to? And then what's going to be the church and the Christians' reaction in 2021 to the deadly, destructive, man-eating virus, which is COVID-19. And then we're going to talk about our website. So with that said, who wants to start off in the 2020 review speaking about the honest impeachment that happened in January of 2021? If you remember, there was a phone call in which the president spoke to the president of the Ukraine, and he was impeached. President Trump was impeached because of a phone call. They said he did some things very unethical. Trump released the phone call, and it was shown that what they were saying were lies. And he was impeached for it. Any takers on anything with the Russian impeachment? What we found out later on in 2020, why they were mocking the president for saying that some unethical, if not illegal, things were going on in Ukraine. They were laughing at him, the Democrats. The Attorney General was sitting on a laptop that could have cleared it all up, that could have exonerated the president, that could have let everyone know, yes, there were some crazy things going on, but the Attorney General did nothing. The FBI hid the laptop. Thus, the impeachment went forward. Yes, that was 2020, January 2020, and I said it back then in January 2020, that the globalists were not going to sit still. They were going to strike. And I thought the impeachment was, in fact, the striking back from the globalists. But little did we know, that was only the beginning.
Now, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because there have been so many investigations, and there have been It was just 4 years of nonstop accusation and investigation. So I lost track a long time ago. But you're talking about the laptop that was Hunter Biden's laptop, right? Which actually didn't have anything to do with President Trump, but had everything to do with, yes, the Bidens being all wrapped up in, what is it that's called? It's not pay. Influence peddling, I guess, is the official.
They said he was a liar.
Right, and they didn't start even the mainstream media didn't even deal with it at all until after the election, of course. So, so I guess that's there were so many accusations there, and nothing ever came of it, even when we caught them red-handed. Completely red-handed, and I was waiting for someone to go to jail for 3 years. I was waiting for someone to go to jail, and that didn't happen.
No, you're wrong. People were indicted and going to jail. Flynn and Stone and those people. So yeah, the Russian impeachment, Russia. Russia, and the fact that Trump was lying when he talked about corruption in Ukraine.
I think is interesting. I saw this compared the other day. They even went after Donald Trump Jr. for having a conversation that they actually set it up almost. It was not even something that was legitimately political in nature, and they went after him at the same time. And look at Hunter Biden. They sit on the laptop you can see how far up the corruption goes. It's too far up. All the way. Yeah, all the way to the top.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I still have not found a good explanation on why the FBI sat on that laptop for a year. For a year, I have not heard a credible explanation yet. Bill Barr, people were heralding as the man that Trump needed and the AG. I think it's very clear. Bill Barr is an established card-carrying member of the swamp, and that is very, 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 very clear. Okay, that was the impeachment. That was in January. Little did we know, that was just the beginning. Then we were told right around March that there was a flesh-eating virus from Wuhan that ate your flesh, your brain. Well, that's the way they made it out, the scene, that you'd be dropping dead in the streets, and your eyeballs would pop out after 24 hours of being infected. Your limbs would fall off. I mean, it was a deadly, if I remember. That's the way they made it seem. You couldn't go to church. You shouldn't go anywhere. Lockdown, we needed 15 days to curb the boy, that's a long 15 days. 15 days to curb this flesh-eating, mind-eating, limb-eating, hair-eating virus, this big bad virus they made out. COVID-19, remember? COVID-19. What should we say to that?
And if it was so terrible, why would you diminish doctors that had legitimate ways to deal with it and cure people and take them off YouTube and take them off the internet and keep everyone locked down while you're pouring all the news that you want them to hear into their homes because they're not getting out and checking with other people? It's ridiculous.
Yep, that's 2020 in review. The COVID-19, the worst virus ever recorded in human history, so we're told. The first time churches were shut down. The government shut down in this wonderful, wonderful country that I'm aware of. So COVID-19 then hits. Dr. Fauci, whom most of us had never heard of before, becomes an overnight sensation. Mm-hmm. Dr. Deborah Burke, those two became probably the two most influential people in this country overnight. And whatever Dr. Fauci said, forget your congressmen, your senators, or the president. Dr. Fauci became the voice we all needed to listen to. And COVID-19 will now go down in history. How exactly? We're not sure. We're not sure, but it definitely changed the world.
So, the impeachment, remember, Donald Trump was impeached. He wasn't punished by the Senate, okay? So he's the third president in the history of the country to be impeached. Second in my lifetime, unprecedented, right? First 150, 60 years, there was one. Now we've had two. He was impeached for obstruction as well. You remember they accused him of not coming in and talking to Congress, not coming to their private sessions down in the basement behind closed doors, and not letting his administration go in and talk. So there was a lot more onion layers, so to speak, of that. And then the COVID hits, and there's rumblings that it really started in the fall of 2019. And that's why it's COVID-19, right? And it really, people that I know that have had it, thought they had it. A couple people I know absolutely had it. It was a severe case of the flu for as bad as they got. But, you know, it is real, and it was dangerous to those with compromised immune systems. It still is. But a 0.02% death rate compared to 20 million people 100 years ago died from the Spanish flu. Now, when you eliminate history, 2020 has taught me something pretty valuable. When you eliminate history, you have no idea that worse things have happened in the past. You have no context of, oh, well, yeah, we got to protect ourselves. Yes, I love my brothers and sisters in Christ. I love the people I don't even know. So I'm going to be respectful and not go to your house if I have symptoms. I'm going to stay away from you at church, distance. All of these were ideas that the government could have come out and said, here's what we recommend, just like the flu. Wash your hands several times a day. Don't sneeze and cough on each other. If you're not feeling good, stay home. Self-quarantine, which I've done for years. But if you have no historical context, I'm not surprised that people just lost their minds in fear, because no one remembers FDR. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself, right? Well, if we don't remember those things, that what makes America great, actually what makes us better as people is to remember history and not be afraid, but overcome fear. And, well, where does that come from? The Bible. Well, if you push God out of the public square, you forget that God said, don't be afraid. Rely on me. Right? And maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but when Paul says, I have a thorn that the devil gave me in my side, and I pleaded with Christ, remove this from me. And he said, my grace is enough. So in my weakness, I'm made strong. Even with this, in the weakness and fear, I'm made strong, because that makes me bow and be obedient to the Lord and Savior of the world, who was perfect, yet gave his life up for me. That I put all of this worldly stuff in perspective, that I don't have to be afraid of these things, because this is human nature, to be afraid, to want to control. And that's all this has been about. But what's amazing is how 2020 has shown us how upfront and not afraid the people who want to control your life don't mind telling you, I'm better. In a sense, I'm better than you, and I know how to run your life better than you do. And of course, it's a flat-out denial, but that's exactly what it is. I want to be in control and tell you how to live your life. So from the COVID-19, we switched to the elections. Now, before I say this, we've already had a video scrubbed and knocked off. We've already gotten a warning because of a video we released calling into question the honest elections. And so we've got one. We're going to start getting banned here. So we'll talk about this towards the end. We're going to have a website starting in January of 2021, in which we will stay in contact with the people that love this station. And if we have to go somewhere else, then we'll always have you with us. The website is up, and we're almost finished constructing. It's called For Such a Time as This .today. For such a time as this .today, not .com, not .net, not .org, .today, because we are breaking in the concept that today is the day
for salvation. I just made that up. But for such a time as this dot today, for such a time as this dot today. Now we get to this, the election in 2021. And so when we talk about the election, I'm going to say, be as innocent as dove, but as wise as serpents.
There was another major event in 2020, and I think it had a direct residual effect, and that was the death of George Floyd. The reason I'm bringing that up, because I now, hindsight's 2020. Some cases it's 10-10, but okay. I almost think it was a triple whammy against the president. I think. I don't believe it or know it. I think. And the reason I say I think is because I'm beginning to believe that my president, and yes, I said it, my president, doesn't play checkers or chess. He plays 5-dimensional chess. You can not believe it or disagree if you want to. I don't have any problem with that. But there were three things: the impeachment, the riots, and then the election.
Okay, hold on. Before you go any further, please explain to me this 5-dimensional chess that your president plays, because although I'm rooting for him,
heard of it until I was it was reported to me that he doesn't. And when you do that, and there is a book I've heard about, I haven't completely read, it's called The Art of War. What's his name?
It's a Chinese.
Yeah. I think there are things in play that quite seriously might wipe a lot of this out. But let's say that none of what I just said is true. This has been the most, and I'm saying this with full 100% confidence, this is the most beat up president that I have seen and experienced from whatever perspective in my life. And it was not fair, and you have to understand, for those listening, I did not vote for this president in 2016, but between 2016 and 2020, I've seen the truth, and I've seen what this country's doing. I have found out what this country has experienced or done over the last century and a half. It's not pretty.
Let me say too, also, I think more, in my opinion, not just the president, but you had a little marriage sandwich in between that probably helped you come toward the Trump train anyway. But anyway, I just I'm joking. Don't respond, Eric. I'm joking. So you're right. I think George Floyd gave them the excuse to use violence in politics now. The death of George Floyd is an excuse for the socialists to enact their thuggerish physical violence, in which it was burning cities all over. George Floyd was the impetus.
And Eric, thank you. That was the other big thing in 2020 was the riots, the BLM protests, George Floyd and the other ones. Who was the young man in Milwaukee? Kenosha. Not the Kyle Rittenhouse, but the Jacob Blake.
That was after the.
I mean, it was just a continuing one after the other, and Joe Biden gets potentially elected president, and wow, where are these things again anymore? I'm only pointing out coincidence, if it is a coincidence that these have quelled down, quote unquote, when Joe Biden became president-elect, which I have to point this out. There is no such thing as the office of the president-elect.
Thank you.
There is a president-elect.
There is a president-elect, but there's not an office of. Anyway, and that's a very good point of what is the purpose of those things. And that's what we need to reflect on is what, now that we look back, right, we don't know the future, but we can look at the past to help us kind of understand. And that's a really good one. The violence, the COVID, the impeachment, and now where are we going?
No, I'm good with the direction we're going right now, but to Chris's point, somewhere in the midst of the mess in the early fall, some of us remembered where we came from, and we started saying things like there was nothing impossible for the Lord, although the circumstances were dire and dim and dark from our human perspective. So we started to go back to what we should have always been doing.
So let's talk about the election now. Remember, the honest election, the honest, forthright, above board election. We say that sarcastically. This election was historical. I don't care what anyone says. The JFK one, and it was reported that the famous saying, Springfield calls Chicago, how many votes do you have? Chicago responds, how many votes do you need? And JFK is pronounced president. That cannot hold a candle to what we witnessed. Not because that was what, 60? That was 60. Mm-hmm. In 2020, you have social media, you have 24-hour cable news networks. Everyone's able to go on their television and see the 5 states that stopped counting all simultaneous around 10:30. All five Trump was winning. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania.
Michigan.
Arizona.
I said Michigan, right? Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. No, he wasn't ahead in Arizona.
Utah?
He was never in Nevada. I think it was Nevada. Nevada he was ahead of. He was never ahead in Arizona. He had to catch up in Arizona. He was ahead in all 5. And they stopped counting. And lo and behold, the honest election, which is very clear in front of our own eyes, he lost all 5 of them when they stopped counting at 10:30. In Georgia, we have videos. They sent people home because of a water main break in the Georgia Center, which turned out to be a toilet whose flap didn't come down. And so we saw this. Let me just say this, because, YouTube has a policy. It's the honest elections. And YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, if you do not walk lockstep with the honest election, they start removing videos. So here's what I'm saying. People keep calling, and I'll kick it to whoever wants to be next. People even now still keep saying we need investigations. We need a special prosecutor investigations. I'm sorry. I know what I saw. I saw them kick people out, 10:30, and I saw at 11:08 the timestamp said they pulled suitcases from out underneath tables and started running them through the voting machines, and at that exact time, Biden got a spike in his vote total. I don't need people in black robes to tell me what I saw. I know what I saw. We don't need any more investigations. It's about brute power right now. Socialism and Marxism always is about brute power. We don't care if you saw the video. What are you going to do about it?
Well, at this point, with all the things that are going on investigated, you see people that are coming out and speaking and saying, this is what I saw, being threatened and everything. And it's like, but here's the other thing. There's also what they're not telling you is there's people flipping on them. There are people coming forth, and they're not showing this in the news. And I say to people, I go, if this hadn't gone through like this, would you guys have seen, would the American people have seen how far the corruption goes? No, they wouldn't have.
You're right, but again, it comes back to my premise. They've got the Supreme Court. The stuff that came out with John Roberts. Okay, I know I saw John Roberts, which was reported Fantasy Island or Pedophile Island with King Pedophile, Clinton, Bill Clinton. I saw that. I don't need a court to see. I saw John Roberts with Bill Clinton on Pedophile Island. That's what I saw, and no one has disputed that video yet. So, Lisa Joy, all the investigations. You're right, but what are we going to do about it? Go ahead.
But before the election, would you have thought that Brian Kemp and the and I go, and here's the thing, a few days after the election, what did you see Trump doing? Think about it. He was quiet for a long time. He went out golfing. Uncharacteristically quiet.
What does that mean, though?
And I go, well, we're not listening to the mainstream. We're looking, there's all this military things going on that are not being reported. And I go, one thing we heard one night, I go, okay, I can go to sleep. I'm putting it in God's hands, and I go, I'm not worried about this.
No, I'm not worried. No.
No, but
I don't think we should be worried.
People are discouraged.
No. We shouldn't be discouraged. But people are. When the days, people are. You're right. When the days are dark, here's the verse that keeps popping in my head: "Lift up your head, for your redemption draws near." I mean, this is. But where we stand right now, as far as investigations go, we don't need no more investigations. Look at what the left has done off of so little. Blasey Ford, they tried to remove Kavanaugh off of her testimony, which was ridiculous. She brought forth 4 witnesses, and the 4 witnesses said she was wrong. And they still believe that went forward. The whole impeachment stuff, right? A whistleblower that they refused to bring forward. To identify, right? And they went forward with an impeachment. How many affidavits? How many people have come forward with saying threats and whatnot, but there's nothing to see here. We've got video. I keep coming back to that. We've got video and still nothing to see here.
And what the Bible says that Satan is an angel of light. And you think he appears as an angel of light, and you've got people saying half-truths and trying to bull it off, and the media running. I told a member of my family 3-4 years ago, do not watch. Fox is going to turn. It's all. And look at how quickly that happened. And I go, this is all just, and then people that look at different things, me, one of them, they think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I go, hey, when the things that you're reading fall into place and make common sense, God is a God of order. And I look at these things and I go, this is not confusing, people. Look who is doing what. And when they start coming out in support of something, you go, okay, well, he wasn't part of the home team. He was flipped to begin with, and I go, we're going to see him. It's like coming out, between the light on the cockroaches going,
So post-election, we saw what happened with the honest, forthright, above-board elections. We saw what happened with that. So post-election, what is our take on that before we move to 2021? There's going to be one other thing before we go to that. We're going to talk about the church in 2020 and what happened with the church, because there are some things that happened in the church we need to just highlight. So here's where I stand. Here's where I am post-election. This is where the battle is, flat out. The globalists, the Marxists that says we've done it, now what are you going to do about it? You've got video evidence. You've got affidavits. What are you going to do about it? Now what? I don't know. I don't know what takes place. I'm not going to need to pretend. I'm not a prophet in this area. But what say ye? At this point, the globalists have said, we've done it, now what?
My mind.
And the response is going to be what? I don't know. You want to go?
The only thing that immediately comes to mind is Nehemiah building the wall. We've got a tool to build in one hand and a weapon in the other. That's the only, because he was given an assignment. The church has been given an assignment, and our marching orders have not changed. In the midst of all of this, they haven't changed. So the question is, based on what I see with my eyes, and my relative inability to do what I think we have been assigned to do, I don't have any choice but to look at him. I don't have any answers, to your point. But all I know is God has never, ever not been unfaithful.
And he never will. Real quickly before we go to 2021, the church in 2020. How could I forget this off the list here? The shutdowns, the church. What happened to the church in 2020? I believe that at some point, and I'll just say this: someone said, "You know what? God needs to open up His churches," and my response was, "I think He has. I think He has."
I actually think that's the line of the year.
I agree with you, James. The churches who truly follow Christ and God's commands have opened and stayed open. The churches of Laodicea are the ones who are still closed.
Amen.
And hey, you know why it's so hard for us to accept that? Because we don't want to accept that the real churches are a fraction of what we thought they were. And it's sad to say that, but there is again, in all of this, let us not forget, let us remember, there is a command about gathering as the church.
Amen.
And there was no, as I read it, there was no exclusion clause or an exemption clause. You can get out of it if you think you're sick. Now, wisdom says if there's a man-eating flesh virus going around popping people's eyes out, and you're sick, then don't go. James, but that's not the case here.
James, that's a Stephen King novel, The Stand. Captain trips that your eyes pop out of your head and you're flesh eating. No, it really is a book. It probably is, but and that was the vibe. It's funny, interesting. He wrote a book back in the early '80s, The Stand, one of my favorite books, about a virus that got out of a lab that wiped out 98% of the world's population by popping their eyes.
Wait, that's what they were saying.
By popping their eyes out, by turning red, and you choke on your own fluid in your lungs. Captain Trips, it was called. And now Netflix or Prime is remaking it into a series with Oprah Winfrey as the main character for the good side. So it's good versus evil.
So
you're describing Stephen King.
Okay, I didn't know. I never read Stephen King, but yeah, it's just flesh. All right, so moving to 2021. I just want to get in a few live chat things here. Jack says we're in month 10 of a 15-day flatten the curve, which is true. Yeah, I saw Iljan. I was about to say that, and then Iljan says my eyesight got worse because of COVID without ever getting COVID. Yes, that is definitely true. Definitely true. Okay, 2021. Here's the thing. The first thing that's going to happen in 2021 of any significance in our country is the Georgia runoff, the Senate runoff in Georgia. And on January 5th, which is, wait a minute, next week? No, it's a little bit over. It's a week from Tuesday. What's the day? I don't even know what the day is. Saturday? It's a week from Tuesday then, right? It's a week from Tuesday. The Senate runoff. What say ye? Do you really think the Republicans got a chance at winning that?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Why, Eric?
I believe they have a chance because I still believe, and I got my my hat on here, that the people who pull this stunt know they're being watched. And I don't think, well, you know what? That's what I believe. Because the next day,
I hope you're right.
I don't have any skin in this. This is just what I think.
Sure. No, I got you.
I don't think they're going to try to pull the same stunts that they did. I do not. Now,
Hold on.
What? These crazy people might try to do the same thing, and to your point, say, hey, what you going to do? You going to stop us?
Stacey Abrams announced she's got 1.2 million voting ballots. You know that? She's encouraged 1.2 million. Yeah, she's just already got them. Now, what she failed to realize is to tell you she's got them in the back of her van. Okay, that's what she's telling you right now. Eric, they stole it in Georgia. We know that, you know.
But let me just say this one thing. And correct me, historians, but I don't know of any situation where folks got away with it forever. Something.
Venezuela,
maybe a better way of putting
Cuba,
it is in the light.
Russia.
None of those countries are the United States of America.
I agree.
Okay, and I'm not waving my hand. I'm not going to wave my flag yet, but I am going to say this: the founding fathers put an amendment in there called the Second Amendment. I'm going to be urban. I'm going to say this in an urban manner. Ain't nobody going to take our guns away from us. There will be a war first. Okay, now, to that point, somebody is going to say enough, and this mess is going to stop. I don't know how. I don't know who, but it's going to stop. I believe that.
One of the gentlemen, I'm going to say this because I'm not going to mention his name, that rose up as a spokesman in the midst of this, someone from the hood in Gary, Indiana. He has a national platform now, and he has people all over, and they're all marching straight to Washington. And they were talking, and wait, but what happened in Washington, D.C., which all the news reports that, like, the Proud Boys were the problem and all this, they're given, conservative networks are coming out and saying, no, that's not what's happening. And people that have come together because they've watched what's happened and they don't want to lose their country, I've had enough is enough. And they're not playing, and they're not like from the church background like we are. They don't use nice language, and they're done. And so when you see people like from all these different states moving towards DC for December 6th,
Okay.
Yeah.
I go
January 6th.
January 6th. Sorry. Yeah, but it's they're heated.
But that is what it's going to take. Okay, that's what it's going to take. Forget having the gun. Are you going to use it?
Yeah.
Because at this point, and I'm telling you what the Venezuelans, I'm telling you what the Ukraine, the people from Eastern Europe are saying. You better use it now. You better use it now.
Well, I had a wonderful discussion this past week with a friend of mine who teaches U.S. Constitution, politics in community colleges, who said it's shocking how little the younger generations, and even my generation and younger, have no understanding of civics because I don't teach it anymore. Right. But I agree with what he said. He said this country is headed towards one of two things: secession, outright secession. States will leave. States are starting to prep. It's heading in that, not the will, but heading in that direction, or a reaffirmation of the 10th Amendment. It's going to be one of those two things. Remember, the 10th Amendment is the one where it states whatever is in this Constitution that is either divided into the federal government or to the states belongs respectively to the states and or the people. So, for example, I argue that the Department of Education, it's not in Article 2, Section 8, powers to the U.S. Congress or to the President, doesn't belong at a national level. 10th Amendment says it belongs to the states to control and decide what to do with it. As an example, He says that's reaffirmation of the 10th Amendment is a way to start bringing the country back. If it doesn't, it is heading towards civil war, secession, and what we know is coming.
If you're banking on the other side yielding to the authority of the Constitution of the United States of America, you've already lost that argument. They don't care. They don't care.
Into it takes a majority of the people who believe that it's right. And if there isn't a majority, we're heading towards separation.
Do you think a majority of the people in the United States of America abide or even understand the Constitution?
I'll get a little nitpicky. No, they don't need to abide by it because the Constitution doesn't control the people. It controls the government, and that's it. All its design was for the government. But no. I mean, I know you agree. But if you don't teach two generations what it means, then if I don't know what it means, then I don't know how to enforce it or how it protects me.
That's my point.
And I agree with you. You know I agree with you.
Yeah, I know. But that's my point. That avenue is gone because people are already ignorant. They're already ignorant. Good.
It's a concerted effort to eliminate history so that you don't question when I tell you, you go to this processing center and you get a tattoo or a tag or a Star of David or a cross that you have to wear out in the open so we know who you are.
Right.
Yep.
That's history.
Hold on.
If you don't know that history, you'll just accept it too.
So here's the thing. Chad Martin says this. It's a good question. And I'll throw it out there. And then we'll get into potentially President Biden. He says this. Although I support people having firearms for personal protection, the idea of raising up against a wicked government is not an action for a Christian.
That's not what I was saying, though. That's not what I was saying about these groups that were going. And when you get into... No, they are mad and they're going. And you know what? No, they weren't. But they're going to arm themselves because when they get there, the other people don't care about that. They are going to go after the people that are standing up for their constitutional rights. And those people were going after, like those Proud Boys were protecting some of the people that were rioting. And you know what happened? What was it? I don't know if it was Election Day or when it was, that they had Trump supporters. And when the Trump supporters were separated from the big group, that big rally day, that's when they were attacked and they were bludgeoned. I mean, there were people that were in the hospital. The media was silent. And people are not going to sit and take that much longer. It's like you're going to be after us for our gun rights and stuff, but you're going to let people come and kill. People have been executed because they're Trump. Nothing has happened. The guy in Portland that put the gun to that guy's head, he was released. The guy in Milwaukee, I didn't hear anything about what happened. And I said, this is not right. And people have had enough. So I'm not advocating that, but when it comes to self-defense, you better have your concealed carry.
Chad Moore just responded. He said, no, he didn't say you were saying that. He was just saying that as well. You know what? I'll take the brunt of it then. I thought that's what you were saying. And I'm not necessarily opposed because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
No, I was just making it clear. I'm singing it. Okay? And Scripture, I think, is pretty clear. One, that we have a responsibility to protect our families. And when we have a situation where we see the police of our communities being commanded to stand down, then we don't have a choice. We have a God-ordained responsibility to protect our families and our property. That's one. Two, if the government is not going to protect us and, in fact, will come against us, that's why the Second Amendment was put in there in the first place. Because when the Constitution was written, we just freed ourselves from a country that was coming after us.
Yeah. Let me say this. Am I saying, get your ARs, go to Springfield, take over the Capitol building, in D.C.? That's not what I'm saying. But here's the question that you have to answer. All of us have to answer. When the government, and I say there's a stronger sense of when the government says you no longer have a right according to the Constitution, and they start coming to your churches and your homes, do you just simply roll over? That is going to be the question that you have to answer. One gentleman here says this: a Biden presidency is already considered illegitimate. Civil war is coming. And so I don't think he's wrong. There's just too many people who said what they saw in November wasn't right. And so now, talking about a potential Biden presidency, here's what I want to play this. You see this video on Stitscom, yeah, get it right, Stitscom, but I didn't see this video on Fox News. Maybe they played it, maybe they didn't, but here you have a video which Joe Biden is blatantly racist. Listen, there was a racist in this election, and it wasn't Trump. So let me play you this video that you can now see on Newsmax. Yeah, real quick.
Can I add
Wait.
to that?
Go ahead.
That the audience was African American leaders.
Oh no, they see the video. They'll see,
Okay.
Listen, they will see the video. The African Americans who are pro-black sat there and watched Joe Biden talk to them this way, and to do it. Here we go. Watch this.
Now, I don't know if he talks to white folks like this or if it's his racism rearing its head again. I can't tell you the answer to that. But I will play this clip for you. And it's a clip the mainstream media appears to be suppressing, maybe because it sounds about as racist as it gets from Joe Biden.
This country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
Now, folks, what in the world does that mean? The country is doomed, not just because of African Americans? Are you kidding me? But because of Hispanics, too, he goes on to say.
Now, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna put this video up on all my family, and I want my lovely family, who claimed that Trump was the racist. Please explain to me. Please explain to me that video. Please explain to me that video.
Wow. I mean, I'm still reeling, and I heard it yesterday several times, and I haven't blinked since. The criticism of Donald Trump in, what was it, Charlottesville? Yeah. Was the latest accusation was, well, he didn't condemn the racist first and then say there was good people. So it was the order of what he said made him a racist. Because I watched this one guy jump through all kinds of hoops. Well, he should have said that first when he said there's good people on both sides, but I condemn the KKK and the white supremacists. We condemn them totally. And the criticism was, well, he should have said that first. So it was the order of what he said. This? Oh, wow. I mean, think about it. He's talking to African-American leaders saying this country is doomed.
You monkeys about to take control.
Because there's going to be a minority of white Europeans. That means y'all have to work with Hispanics. And the country's... there's no other way to take it than he...
Okay. Anybody who was able to look at that saw who was there.
Yep.
I heard what I'm about to tell you before I actually saw what that man who says he's the president-elect actually said. They interviewed Al Sharpton. I thought I saw his face on there. I don't know. Maybe I'm blind. And his response was that he was well received. I have been African American from my birth, a proud one. There is no way on this from conception, from before I came out. There's no way on this planet there was anything positive or logical about what he said. And I am shocked. I'm more shocked from the lack of a reaction than I am from what he said, because you know what? People are people. Whoever they are is whoever they are. That man's been in Congress and in the executive branch for 47 years. Whoever he was is who he is now. You can say the same exact thing about Donald John Trump. That man went to the hood in Detroit and said, what do you got to lose? Now, which one's the racist?
Now, let me say this, because I want to play it again. I want to play it again. I want to play the video again. Not the whole thing, but I'm going to play it again. Look at it in context, okay? Look at it. He says America is doomed for one reason and one reason only. You black people are going to take over. And then you got to deal with the other, how can I say it, light-skinned monkeys, the Hispanics. That's who you got to deal with. He gave no other reason why the country was doomed other than the African Americans are going to have to deal with the Hispanics, and that the white man is going to be the minority. There is no other reason given. There is no, I'm play it again. Let me play it again.
Now, I don't know if he talks to white folks like this or if it's his racism rearing its head again. I can't tell you the answer to that. But I will play this clip for you. And it's a clip the mainstream media appears to be suppressing, maybe because it sounds about as racist as it gets from Joe Biden.
This country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics who make up.
Go ahead, Abby.
I have one thing to say. That is not a stuttering problem.
Yeah, not a stuttering problem. You know what I mean? Because he was very clear. He was very clear. He didn't stutter at all. Abby, I don't think he stuttered at all. I don't think he stuttered. He was very clear. He was very clear. Because you know what? That is what African Americans are saying, who are Joe Biden supporters. They're saying he has a stuttering problem. He has a stuttering problem.
Okay.
He has dementia, and you know what happens with dementia patients? The filter falls, and the true them comes out. They forget to lie. Yep. They forget to put that filter up. And Joe Biden showed you who Joe Biden was. America's in trouble because you black people are going to be in charge.
Oh, but not just because of the black people.
Good.
Not just because of you.
Go ahead.
So in 2040, I'll be a minority. Do I get to claim victimhood and special, or
No.
so no more white privilege then, because I'm not in the majority?
No, you're going to be dead, Chris. You're going to be dead. They're going to try to kill you. They're going to try to kill you. So we're running long. Real quickly, I want to kick it around. What do you all see? What does the panel see? What does the panel see in this flesh-eating virus in 2021? What are your predictions? We're predicting now. We're just strictly predicting. What do you see? What do you see in 2021?
Can I ask a question of clarification before I answer? My understanding is there's another virus that's coming along. It's stronger. Okay. I don't know, other than for me and mine, we're going to believe what the real doctors have said, which is there has already been a solution to this thing that came out of China, and that is use what has been on the shelves of our stores, which is hydro. I want to make sure. I want to say.
It's been on stores in third world countries, but 60
Hydrochloroquine.
years.
Yeah, right.
plus.
That. Okay. Yeah. That.
Easily got.
How long,
60
Professor
plus
Chris?
years.
50. It's been around for 50 years.
Yeah.
So in order to handle the future, I think we need to go back to the past.
Yeah, it's an excuse, though. It's an excuse for power.
The thing that concerns me is the misinformation about the vaccinations. And I have gone back and forth with friends, family, and everything else about what is in this. And if there's 3 of them out there, do your due diligence. I mean, it is scary what's in them. And for a virus that has such a low death rate and people are bouncing back, no matter how bad it is, it's a bad flu. And you're going to take a vaccination that is not going to stop you from getting the virus. It is only going to lessen it. And you may have to have 2 of them. And the side effects, I'm sorry. I don't take the flu shot, so I don't trust them to begin with, but it's really crazy. I think it's, and children, I wouldn't do that.
So in our the last thing is, what is the church going to have to do to fight for the gospel in 2021? First of all, I don't think what we have not realized is that the church has never had to fight both state and federal. Now, if Biden ascends to the presidency, you will have the federal working in concert with the states, the liberal states, and us here in Illinois. I think the one protection we had against, let me be Christian-like, against Governor Pritzker was you didn't have a president bagging him up. Yeah. If you have a president bagging him up, my, what lies ahead?
I really think that I've been thinking a lot about this lately. That the future for Christians, our job is to be witnesses. In the midst of chaos, is to be witnesses for Christ, to show people by the way we live and by the things we say who God is. And I think that's going to require supernatural wisdom. I don't necessarily think we're going to be able to, in all cases, scour our Bibles and come up with answers for the questions that are going to be before us. I'm convicted that we need to fast. We need to seek God's face, and we need to pray.
Amen.
And I don't know any other way we're going to be able to do what we really should be doing.
We have a meeting at New Hope Community Church, the church which is the home church for such a time as this. We're going to have a meeting January 10th, and then January 10th, we're going to appoint and see how he does a fasting czar. There's a person who was part of our congregation who says, Pastor James, I've fasted for years. I've used it as a discipline, a Christian discipline, and I would like to bring what I've learned in my discipline to help other people in the church. And I said, wow, that perfect timing. So we're going to have a prayer and fasting czar at our church, and we encourage others to think about prayer and fasting in 2021 because, hey, it's going to, I think people say, let's hurry and get out of 2020. Come on, people. I mean, listen, I hope 2021 is better. I really do. I want to go to football games and whatnot, but we don't know exactly what's going to bring. Anything else? The challenges that the church will face in 2021. Anyone else from the panel? No? Okay, go ahead.
Go Hawkeyes. Christ calls us to spread the good news. And the good news is, it is not my works that saves me. It is his blood on the cross through grace that saves me, that gives me peace, that gives me confidence. Through my obedience to him, to Jesus on the cross, I am saved. That through my works I may not boast, but by his grace and grace alone, that my works will show what his grace has done in my life. To that end, that is the purpose of being a Christian. and to always be ready to have an answer when asked for the hope that lies within, with love and patience and grace. And that's what I pray for us as Christians, that we keep that in mind, that the chaos that comes around us is nothing new. It's happened from the very beginning. Ye shall not die. You shall be like God, knowing good and evil. And the power and control that mankind has pursued ever since, it's nothing new. Didn't Solomon say nothing new is under nothing? There's nothing new under the sun. And so this is just history repeating itself. Whatever popular mantra we want to use, it's nothing new. Now, it's intensifying, but our role doesn't need to change. We submit our will and are obedient to Christ. And when he returns, oh boy, I can't wait for him to wipe away tears and pain and anguish and sin, and we live with him forever. Because I can't stand the pain and suffering, watching it, experiencing it, and being a sinner. I can't stand it. And I really, with patience, look forward to when he removes all of that. And it's only a shadow in my mind. I really look forward to that ultimate peace.
Amen. And we'll see what 2021 brings. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be very, 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 very challenging. We'll see. Well, okay, go ahead.
What I was thinking of is, years and years ago, I made a very focused effort on dedicating my life to the Lord, and that was when I was very young. And I think about all the things that I have gone through my life, and the trials and the disappointments and stuff, and I keep coming back. It just solidifies the fact that my commitment to Christ and to the scriptures is stronger than it was because of those things. And one of the things that has been really hard, especially in this last year, with all the things that I see going on and all the lies that are being perpetrated, as if, good is bad and bad is good. It's just unbelievably blatant. And it's hard, just like, we were talking about praying to be truth tellers. And someone said, we need to shine the truth down at people's feet so that they see where they're going, not in their eyes. And I think sometimes because of the emotion, and I be the first to admit, I get really revved up about it and very feisty about it, and people don't want to hear it. And I go, God, give me the patience and the love and the understanding, the spiritual wisdom to shine the light down so that they see where they're going, not in their eyes, so that they retract from what I'm saying.
So we're in with this. We're going to start real early in January. We're going to start promoting our website because it offers a lot of protections when it comes to social media. There's going to be a lot of roundtables that we're going to say some very blatant things that YouTube would not allow us to say publicly, so that you'll be able to go to our website and have our exclusive roundtables, so that we don't start getting summarily kicked off of all these social websites. We are to be as wise as serpents, but as innocent as doves. And so go to for such a time as this .today. For such a time as this .today. You can put your email in there, and regardless of what social website we get kicked off, you'll still be able to be connected to for such a time as this. When you go there, look for where you can put your email into that, and you'll be on our email list. And also, if you have the website, you'll always be able to look at the newest videos. I can't tell you how many texts and emails I get. Pastor James, I do not get your notifications. Pastor James, something's going on. Yeah, there's something going on. They're censoring us at YouTube. They're censoring us at Facebook. But if you go to the website and connect with us at the website, then they won't be able to cut you off. Well, people, it's been great. We've gone a little bit over time. But that was our review of 2020 and our look ahead to 2021. We're going to try to, as soon as possible, get a more consistent time for live, whether it is Wednesday night or Saturday morning. We don't know. We'll come up with a time, but we'll be more consistent in 2021 with these round table discussions as we continue to be watchmen on the wall, looking for our Lord Jesus to come back. Until next time, thank you, God bless, and Maranatha.
For such a time as this,